why this is personally also close to my heart, both from a professional front as well as something that really gives me a lot of energy. So I've been working for the last 13 years. I started my career with TCS, worked there for 6.5 years, managed industry hiring, campus hiring, training programs, the initial learning program that TCS has. So I was heading the centers in Calcutta and Guwahati for 2.5 years. So primarily, whatever I did there revolved a lot around entry level talent. I moved on to Dell. I was the country manager for university relations there, which primarily meant I was responsible for hiring all the freshers that Dell India had to hire, which included 22 acquired companies by Dell Technologies. Towards the end of my tenure there, it also included EMC and the constituent companies that I looked after. And for the last 2.5 years, I have been with Microsoft in a similar capacity, managing university relations, unconventional and innovative hiring for Microsoft, but everything to do with entry level talent. So that is what I have been doing primarily for the last 13 years. This was also a trigger point for me to contribute back to the area that I have been working in for so many years, in terms of what do we think uh, you know is an actual problem for the industry, vis-a-vis what are the assumptions that people take, and how that can be solved through a research work. So that's where this topic came from. Outside of my work, I have been a member of the IIM's admission board for the last 6 years, which primarily means I take interviews on behalf of the IIMs, to recommend admission or no admission for students who clear CAT. So that's what I do. And outside of work, I'm into a lot of social work. I've adopted one all girls school in Jharkhand. That's where I did my schooling from. So, trying to give back as much as possible. Apart from this, along with my school friends, we are a cohort which fund the education, higher education of students from the lower economic strata. So we've been doing that. We've done more than 20 students. When I say higher education, it's engineering or MBA or equivalent vocational courses. So that's what I've done, and I aspire to contribute in the areas of education and agriculture in India. That's what I aspire to do, and I hope and pray I am able to land something someday. So that's more about me, and that's the introduction to why this topic came by. So I'll brief a little in terms of how the landscape of India campus hiring looks like. With about 3,700 MBA colleges in India and about 3,500 engineering colleges, uh, there is a huge gap when we look at what happens at the top, few small percentile versus what happens at the bottom percentile. So for a lot of schools where the campus hiring program is very structured, and the organizations come, and if there are more organizations than the number of students, or more offers than the number of students, then the policies change accordingly. If the number of offers that come on a campus are lesser than the number of applicants on a campus, then the policies change accordingly. So whether it is one job per person, or it is one job per person till 100% placement, and then beyond that, you can go for your dream offer or super dream or whatever categorization that happens based on the demand supply that we have in India today. Now, for the colleges, there are three key decision makers. Of course, the training and placement officer is the contact point for recruiters like me. But at the same time, there are influencers in students as well as the leaders of the institution. Now, I've only put head of the institute, but that does not mean that head of departments do not have a say. So, a lot of it put together forms the basis for a decision to invite company X first and then company Y followed by company Z, based on the different parameters that the college wants to accomplish. Now, what does this mean for the recruiting organizations? For recruiting organizations, in scenarios where it's a one job per person, if you are not the first company on campus, you end up losing the candidates who have already been placed by the time you reach the campus and interview those students. So that's what it means. But does it also mean that if you are the first company on campus, then you have access to the entire pool? Does it mean that the entire pool is genuinely interested in working for you? Does it also mean that any offer that you place on campus is going to get accepted? Does it mean that if you have made an offer, in July this year, next year after passing out, is there a guarantee that the student is going to come and join you? Unfortunately, not. For any organization, whether it is the likes of a Microsoft or a Google, which are supposedly categorized as the topmost dream companies for a lot of schools, the joining ratios are not 100% for any of the top brands. The application rate is also not 100%. The offer acceptance rate is also not 100%, which also points us to the fact that if you even if you are the first company, there is no guarantee that the entire pool of students available will apply for your role. If they apply, there is no guarantee that they will accept your offer or join you. Third, even if they accept your offer on campus during a campus hiring process, there is no guarantee that they will not go shopping with your offer to other organizations and try their luck in off campus events. What happens as a result of this is there are offer index, which primarily means that someone tells you that okay, I accept your offer and I will join you, and closer to the date of joining the person declines, or it's a no show, which means the person tells you on campus, yes, I accept your offer, I'll come and join you, and then when you give a date of joining, that day you see that okay, out of 100 people who I was expecting to join today, only 99 have come. So that's when you find out that there has been a no show, so someone accepted something else or had some other plans but did not inform. So all of this eventually results in some bit of issues for the organizations that we'll come to in the further slides. But how organizations try to address all these challenges is through various employer branding or employer value proposition mechanisms. So what you see here is a small set of things that you would as academicians you would have heard from your students a lot. Sir, this company has great innovative practices or products. Job rotation is good, very ethical organization. Compensation is very good, the stack of roles is very good. Can you guide me whether should I apply for company X or company Y, or where should I place my bets, or which should be my priority companies, and all of that. I'm pretty sure as teachers, a lot of your students come to you for guidance, and deliberately we've actually put this in a uh, unstructured format, because that is exactly how things are. No one can tell, and as a recruiter, or looking at any uh, you know employer branding activity, or an employer value proposition, it's very difficult for anyone to gauge whether job rotation is given more weightage, or innovation, or career progression, or whatsoever, right? So it's there are things, but in an unstructured way and in an unknown way, when we talk about the weightages that we want to give to each of these challenges. Howsoever which, most organizations do it, whether you call it pre-placement talks that organizations do before the campus hiring. That is one of the ways to attract talent, and a lot of the keywords that you see here get covered in those presentations. But coming back to our problem statement, does it mean that everyone is interested? Does it mean that everyone will join? Does it mean that everyone will stop shopping for offers outside? That unfortunately is not true, or unknown at the moment. So based on this, coming to our problem statement, there is a lack of proper information about the factors that actually attract and retain entry level talent. So, the next part to what we discussed so far, in terms of what happens even if you're the first company, no guarantee of applications or joining, or acceptance ratio. There is also no guarantee of retention of talent after they join. So that happens to be an overall problem that every organization, or every recruiting organization on campuses is facing. What happens because of this is there is an offer leakage. So either the student declines on campus. So if I make 10 offers at MUJ, for example, and if two decline, I'm not going to make two extra offers, right? That's a leakage. So it's a loss both for the university and for the organization, but there is a third party that loses. So if you look at the second point, the potential talent that genuinely wishes to join a particular organization does not get the chance, because every organization will always come with a limited number of offers. So what happens is, make 10 offers, not knowing if they genuinely want to join, and maybe the two or three students who we do not make an offer to were actually genuinely interested, but the others showed their interest, took the offer, and then did not join later because they were not genuinely attracted to the employer, or they were not inclined towards the offerings that we had. Now, in light of these points, there's a burning need to identify how the employer value proposition can be positioned to attract entry level talent. While organizations may have 10 talking points in the employer value proposition, how do they give weightage, or to which factors do they give more weightage and stress more when they are representing their brand in front of the entry level talent? That knowledge is or proper information there is missing today. So that is our problem statement. So what we aspire to do as objectives of this study is, one, to identify the variables that are responsible for attracting entry level talent towards an organization, and this is primarily from the perspective of campus hiring. Second, to analyze the factors responsible for attracting entry level talent towards organization, and then subsequently create a suggestive framework for designing an effective employer value proposition. Now, coming to the significance of the study, while prima facie it might appear that it is only something that solves the problem of a recruiter, but if we actually look at it holistically, and Dr. Lamba is here, he also heads the training and placement office, and I'm sure all of you, academicians also are privy to how things work on campus. So it's not only the organizations. Of course, organizations will have a better understanding of the factors that they can utilize to attract entry level talent, and they can position their employer branding efforts accordingly. Instead of doing 20 events for 20 different factors, out of which 10 don't matter at all, they can utilize those lesser important factor slots for the ones that are actually more important to the entry level talent. Organizations will also be able to utilize this study to build an employer value proposition when they're designing something as simple as a PPT for meet the company presentation or pre-placement talks. How do they position their employer value proposition will also be something that will get impacted positively through the study. Of course, coming back to my point, it's not only the employers which are, or recruiters which are going to benefit out of this study. Engineering colleges will be able to encourage students to prioritize job offers in the right way. So instead of us assuming like if you give more money, you can hire any student. One second, if you give a location of choice, you might be able to hire any student. Third, if you give a lot of company stocks, you might be able to attract anyone. So instead of all of those things being only assumption based, if these factors are known to both the parties, the recruiters as well as the placement offices of engineering colleges, they can encourage their students to take decisions in the right way. And as a result, offer declines, joining declines, reneges, no shows, all of that might get reduced considerably because it is a more informed decision that both the parties are taking. And of course, the career development cells or the training and placement offices can design their campus placement policies in a better way to get better outcomes and have lesser leakage of offers through the outcome of this study. So what we propose in terms of research methodology is, there's a significant amount of exploratory work that has already happened here. Unfortunately, when we look at the space of private engineering colleges in India, there's lack of descriptive research that we observed through our literature review. In terms of what are those factors of campus hiring that actually are attractive to the entry level talent today. Uh, from a sample size and sampling technique, now when we began, I also showed the landscape where we know that there are thousands of schools, but there are few important things that we need to keep in mind. One, if we look at the top tier schools, the CFTI, centrally funded technical institutions, or the institutions of national importance, IITs, NITs, and the likes, the demand supply is skewed over there. In certain cases, there could be more offers coming on campus than the actual number of students that they have. So if we study that, we might not get the best results. Again, the contrast of it is a lot of engineering colleges where not many companies go for campus hiring. So if we look at those, then also we might not get good quality data. So what we propose is we will take a random sample of private engineering colleges based on a couple of factors. To ensure good quality data, we'll ensure that they have a good NIRF ranking, which is National Institutional Ranking Framework. Uh, a lot of a lot of engineering colleges participate, so we know that the participation is pretty huge. And when we look at those ranks, we have reasons to believe that those stand out as few of the good schools. So we look at schools there. Of course, we want these schools to also have good placement track record, because what we are trying to solve is around placements. So we don't want to look at schools that do not have a good percentage of placement. And then third, we also want to ensure that we are spread across different tiers of cities. We do not want only um, you know tier 1 city data to come to us, or only tier 2. So we'll spread it out between the various tiers as well. So that's the proposal that we have. From data collection standpoint, given that we don't really have a lot of scope right now for physical interactions, the proposal is to use either Google Form or Microsoft Form to collect the data. Analysis and interpretation will see a suitable use of statistical techniques. So we'll analyze and interpret the data to prepare the suggestive framework based on the other factors that we've already presented. And what we anticipate as a result is a model with the key factors of talent attraction for entry level talent that could be used by recruiting organizations to design their employer value proposition. So what I'm essentially trying to call out here is, instead of saying these are 20 amazing things that I have as an organization, please be interested in me, I will say, okay, I know these are the 5 things that genuinely hold weightage for an entry level talent. So I will talk more about those 5 things and less about the others that don't really matter. So I'll not place equal weightage to all the factors, but focus on what matters more. So that's the anticipated result of this study. From a reference perspective, while those of you who know Dr. Pava closely, you would have guessed, the reason for dark circles that I have. He's made me go crazy reading a lot of literature. But what I can give you in a brief is, the closest that we got to this topic was one, you know, study that was done in a single engineering school, and that to a government school, where the participation rate itself was just about 33%. So we know there is a lot of scope to work on this. While we've tried to explore the various factors uh, across, but we know from a research perspective, we have a lot of scope to do good quality descriptive research in this particular topic. So with that, I'm done with my presentation, and I thank you for your patient listening. I request for any questions, feedback, inputs, or anything that we can use as guidance to make this better.
Thank you, Ashish. It was an excellent presentation. It has gone beyond my expectations. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much, sir.
there are members, even Vijay Pal Singh Dhaka sir has also joined us over here. And welcome, sir. Andy Mathur sir is there to just give the inputs to you. So, so I would like to ask anyone whosoever can
Pava
actually.
sir.
things.
Pava sir, I would like to ask one question only.
Sir,
Actually,
please, sir.
which tool is using for this study?
Sir,
Hello.
please repeat.
Which tool is using for this study?
Sir, we are using factor analysis in order to analyze the data.
Oh, sir, I'm talking about the implementation. Actually, factor analysis. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
So I'm asking about the technical tools.
Technical tool as such we have not means. Is it required? I don't know.
Okay.
Ashish,
okay,
can you
okay.
please
So-
elaborate?
Sure. So thank you for that question, and that is also something that we have been talking about. But we also thought to park that for a little to see what we are getting in terms of our random sample right now. And once we get that, we'll also get better insights in terms of whether we should use X or Y and to what extent. So I'd say we've parked that for now, sir.
Okay, sir.
Dhaka sir, please give the input, sir. If something can be used,
Yes, sir. If you have any recommendations, it'll be really nice,
sir.
sir.
Please
It'll
recommend
help us.
if you
Sir,
please.
Pava sir, yesterday only I discussed with you.
Yes,
If
yes.
you want to recommendation from my side, then please share with me the proposal. Then definitely I will be back to you.
Fine, sir. I will get back to you with the proposal, and
Yeah.
whenever or we will I will come to your office, and we will three of us will have some meeting, because what the thing is, that's why this is the reason, sir, why I have requested you to be a part of this SDC too, because there will be some tool in which you can help us out. I know that.
Yes.
So
So sir, after sending, I will back to you after 2 days. Right, sir? Definitely I will give you my opinion, sir.
definitely, sir. Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We'll get back to you, sir.
Sure, sir.
So any other
Thank you,
SDC
Doctor.
member, if they can contribute, please, because Monty sir is having some suggestions. So before he proceeds further with his suggestions, so anyone else, if there is anything to be incorporated, Iti madam, she is not there. Okay, Saurabh Sharma sir. Okay, Monty sir, please.
Yes, Mr. Ashish.
Good afternoon, sir.
It was really a good presentation,
Thank you, sir.
and I really appreciate your report. One thing actually striking to my mind: why didn't you analyze the gap? Then you can suggest a framework. Actually, you are identifying the variables, okay, and you are also trying to reduce your variables through factor analysis.
Ashish, go to your objectives.
Please
Right,
go to your objectives. Okay. So initially, the first objective is you are identifying the variables for attracting the manpower. Second is you are analyzing the factor responsible. That means through factor analysis, you are reducing the factors and you are identifying these are the important factors which are responsible for what you call attracting the manpower or retaining the manpower. My suggestion is that why didn't you analyze the gap? Because you are doing all this because you think there is a gap. Okay, the expectations of from employees. There are also expectations from the employers which are not matching actually. There is a gap.
So Ashish, what sir is trying to say is that you can mention one objective as this analyzing the gap, right? This can be one of the objectives from where you can start, and then afterwards identify the variable.
Got it, sir.
Right.
I'm taking a note of it.
So actually, you have already done it, Ashish. You have done it through literature review, but you have not.
Right.
You are not
I've not
mentioning it over
mentioned.
here.
Right.
No,
sir.
that gap has to be done from primary survey, not from secondary.
Okay.
You have to take the gap. So you have to analyze the gap from the what you call from the respondents' point of view. Not pilot study, because that has to be a part of your.
So what
So
he is
can I-
saying that the gaps actually, see what the thing is, literature review is coming up saying certain things to you. Fine. So in order to confirm that literature review, whatever literature review is saying, is actually applicable in the country or not. So first a preliminary survey, before we go for the factor analysis, there has to be a gap identification, right? So that for that gap identification, you may have to go for one more survey, and then afterwards the final survey for the identification of variables and applying factor analysis.
Exactly.
Got it.
Let's see, identify the gaps and test it, whether the gaps are significant or not. If the gaps are not significant, then you probably do not require all this study.
So, thank you for that, sir, and great suggestion. Can I also request a little more clarity around the definition of gap here, as in how are we trying to define gap?
See, there are certain expectations of employees. There are also certain expectations of employer. Okay, so you can have gaps from both the sides.
So, which is correct. My scope is only campus hiring, sir. So what happens right now is,
okay, if you are doing from the employee's perspective, then you have to analyze actually what are their expectations, whether their expectations have been fulfilled or not. See, actually, you can have a scale. Okay, so scale, and based on that scale, you frame certain questions and ask the respondents, what are your expectations, and against the expectations, what are you are getting in return. When there is some deviation, we call that as a gap. So first you identify the gap, and then only other objectives will follow automatically.
Actually, another thing, see, this you can do even qualitatively by asking, or by interviewing the certain set of people. Okay. Even the employer and employee both, you can identify that by doing that also, that even if you come up with certain things, that yes, there is certain things which are happening which is actually leading to you can say leading to these objectives, then also it is okay. Fine, no problem in that. Got it. Not necessarily everything should be done quantitatively. You can start with qualitative and end with the quantitative. Got it. So that can be done. So, Lamba sir, any suggestion from your side, Lamba sir?
Sir, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon, sir. Any suggestion from your side? आपके दर्शन तो कराओ.
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल. I think ना we'll work on one tool जो ढाका सर बोल रहे थे ना, we'll find out one technical tool that can be used for analysis only, because I don't think implement करने का तो कुछ इसमें है नहीं, but we will try to find out a tool which will help out, जो सर कह रहे हैं कि which are the factors and other things. So we'll work on that tool and we'll find out a tool.
ठीक है. आप दोनों का इनपुट इसीलिए तो इम्पोर्टेंट है सर. You guys are from IT sector, so that actually will definitely help us out in doing the things. So any other suggestion? Andy Mathur sir. मेरा फोन मेरे रूम में रहेगा. Andy Mathur sir, need your blessings.
हाँ सर, वो मेरा मोबाइल मेरे रूम में रहेगा, तो रूम की बात.
Subhash Handa ji, Handa sir, any suggestion from your side, because you are also one of the stakeholder for this research?
No sir, so far everything that Tanwar ji has discussed.
Handa sir, you are not visible.
I'm not visible. Okay sir.
एक ऑब्जेक्टिव ऐड करने से हो जाएगा.
Good afternoon everybody. Good afternoon Ashish ji. So far whatever he has presented today, that actually is the need of the hour. So he has rightly put forward his perspective. So and again, going with the reviews of Dr. Dhaka and Lamba sir, obviously implementation part is something that is still desired. So what kind of framework is made in the end? So that will be a great opportunity and challenge. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there are no further inputs, and Bonti sir has already consented that let me ask, where is our coordinator? Priyanka Sharma is also, actually everyone has gone for a lunch. So no problem. Recording is there, so that recording can be shared, and those who are present can be recorded. As such, we are more than the quorum. Yeah, there is one more hand raised from our Mr. KC Jha from IIFCL. He is a AGM of HR in IIFCL. Ashish, I was telling you about him. So,
I have attended.
yeah,
his
Jha sir,
presentation.
please ask the things or give your inputs.
Yeah, nothing more to add into it. Asik very well presented there as regard to talent acquisition. And what I understand from your presentation, it is all about the employer value proposition or employer of the choice per se. Am I right?
That is correct, sir.
That is correct. So nowadays, globally, the strategically paradigm shift is there. Now the paradigm has shifted from employer of choice to employee of choice. Now, strategically, the paradigm has shifted from employer of choice to employee of choice.
Yeah, of course.
So if you include, as already put in the inputs earlier, this thing. So if you put in the study the employee in the sense institute's value proposition also in your study, it will make you, it will lessen the gap of the study.
So, institute value proposition, when we say that, can you expand that a little more so that our understanding is the same?
Now, as I said, the paradigm has shifted from employer of choice to employee of choice. When employee acquire the talent, now they strategically see how this employee is going to suit our goal. So now only earlier it was employee who was seeing how the employer value proposition is there. But now it is the employer also who is looking at the employee's value proposition, rather institute's value proposition.
Which is fair and good, valid point as well. You're absolutely bang on there. I'm not sure if this would fall under the scope, because right now what we are trying to resolve is there is a leaking bucket that we keep trying to fill. So
Okay.
how do we reduce that so that instead of talking about things that don't matter to someone, and based on which that someone takes my offer and then later either declines or becomes a no show, or comes and then leaves immediately, how do we address that bit only from a campus hiring perspective? Now institute value proposition is something that gets catered to, because if you remember, I had covered the NIRF ranking piece. So we are not going to go down to the level where placements are not happening. And if we are taking good ranked institutions where placements are happening, that itself would point towards the fact that the value proposition is met for those sample institutions. And that is the reason why organizations are going for campus hiring there.
So I understood your scope of study is the organization with the employer of choice orientation, but
Right,
but in your purview, the organization with the focus on employee of choice will not come in your scope. That is it.
right, sir. Right, sir.
I
But
got
it's a
you.
great it's a great topic of interest for me as well. Being a recruiter for so many years, and you are absolutely right. That is one big discussion that the entire HR world has been having. But we also felt that bringing that into this particular fold would dilute the kind of factors and the weightages that we are trying to assess from an employer branding perspective.
Okay.
So that is the reason we thought we'll restrict it so that the quality of research is higher, rather than diluting that by bringing in more perspectives from the other side also.
Okay, got your point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Please. So Professor TK Jain is also joining us, and I will request RK Taylor sir also to join. You may have to show your presentation again. Priyanka madam has already joined. Priyanka ji, would you like to give some inputs? Jampala sir, any input from your side? Jampala ji, any input?
No, sir. Everything is fine. Already Mohanty sir had discussed. That is fine, sir.
Okay, fine. So let us then, Priyanka madam. Concluding remarks, Priyanka ji. Yeah, anyone? Yeah, Bhargavi, you were very eager to see this presentation. Yeah. So any input from your side? Poonam ji.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. No, sir. What? No, sir. No input or no output? What?
Nothing like that. I don't have any query regarding this.
So output is there. Either you might have learned or you will make us learn whatever.
Actually, it's a new topic for me, so I am the one who is learning.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Fine. So TK Jain sir, I have already told him to join, but I think it will take some time for him to join
Sir,
us.
sir, close karo, I think. Now we'll have lunch and other things also.
People are actually taking lunches. I have already
Also-
taken it, sir. While the things were going on, you might be seeing. I managed it in a smarter way. So Ashish, your proposal is okay. We are resolving that. So was one input from Monty sir was that regarding the objective, though you have
Right, sir.
already fulfilled it to some extent, and if you want to elaborate it, that can be done. And actually, that will lead to the other objectives also. So a very good
Right.
input from his side. Rest all things are well established, so we can continue with this proposal as such. So congratulations to you. And what you have to do is you have to prepare the entire minutes of the meeting and
Right.
submit your final proposal with all your inputs whatsoever, incorporating all your inputs as per the minutes of the meeting which you will be preparing,
Right.
and submit it on Monday so that it will be incorporated further so that these are now free. Now you can start working on it so that well on time your research should be completed. You have, I think this is your 4th or 5th SVC, I don't know, but you have been shifted from TSB. So accordingly, I will see the reports, what the reports are available over there, and accordingly we will take the decision further. I think you are registered in 2015.
That is correct, sir.
Right. So there might be some reports which you have presented over here. One of the report I have also signed while you were under Professor Raghuveer Singh doing your
Right.
research.
Right.
So anyways, so we all are with you and with all the best wishes. I'm signing off with making your recording stop now.